Hello, 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 and welcome. It is wonderful to have you here. It is one of my favorite presentations that I'm about to take you through, and it is how to get paid while you sleep. Now, before I get started, where are you coming to in the world? I'd love to know. Type it in the chat box. It's always fantastic to see where everyone's coming from. We have global citizens from all over the world, and it's always fascinating to me to understand where everyone is coming from, and let's get the engagement going. I also wanted to share with you two little stories just to get started. The first is that what I tend to find is that when people engage, I know certainly from my experience, when I engage in a webinar, I get the most out of that webinar. You know, at the end of the day, we can sit here, we can watch passively, we can work on our emails, we can be on our social media or our WhatsApps, or we can be fully engaged. We can be listening, we can literally have I have an iPad here, you can be sitting with your pen and your piece of paper, you can be writing notes down, you can be engaging in the chat room. I find that that's going to be able to get you so much more value than if you're just sitting here passively. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I've helped people in 178 countries. And one of the things that I find absolutely fascinating is that this is a global problem. What I'm about to share with you is a global problem. The problems that you have, the same people have all over the world. And what I am super, super excited about tonight is to help you solve that problem. So, who would like to get paid while they sleep? Just type in the chat box. It's always interesting for me to see. And while we're doing that, I'm going to be getting you up a little video to get us started as an introduction to who we are and what we do. Here's our video.
Every single person has their own parameters, has what they're trying to achieve in their life. They have what's important for them and their family and their future.
But that whole saying, ver van jou goed na in jou skade, if it's a long way away from your heart, you're going to lose it. But to be honest, those days are gone. That's 20th century. If you're not thinking globally, if you're not chasing the globe for the best returns, you're in the 20th century. It's very simple.
Could you maybe give us some more insight on where people should be looking? I believe you've just written a book on this with Clem Center. So share your insights on that.
As a result of the scenarios, and I have to congratulate you. I think that's exactly that.
I'm here with Scott Picken, who's one of the top property experts, offshore property experts in all of South Africa.
You're providing that access to allow ordinary people to make the kind of decisions that, obviously very rich people are making because they have a continual discussion with their advisors.
So that is something that I am truly passionate about, and that is helping everybody to invest like the top 1%. That is why we are here. And ultimately tonight, it's to help you invest like the top 1%. So let's get started. I'd like to know who wants to kind of strap themselves in. It's going to be a really exciting set of ideas that I want to share with you, our principles. But the simple, most important thing that we want to help you do is to help you invest like the top 1%. So I've got a couple of questions for you. My first one is, who would like to get paid while they sleep? I can see that Derek has said me. Marion has said, yes, please. Daria, thank you, is from Georgia. So just be honest with yourself. You've come here tonight and you want to know how to get paid while you sleep. And it reminds me of this saying by Warren Buffett. Now, he's arguably one of the greatest investors on this planet. And he says, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. And so again, I ask, who here would like to make money while they sleep? I know I certainly would. What about who would like to own assets which are hassle-free, simple, and safe? Who would like to have access to the knowledge the top 1% have? Who would like to have access to the partners that the top 1% have? Who would like to have time freedom? Who would like to diversify and not have all their eggs in one basket? Who would like to protect their wealth, have a plan B, and peace of mind? And ultimately, who would like their wealth going global? Now, I want to share a little story with you. And this was myself and Richard Branson. I had the privilege, Sir Richard Branson, of spending a week on Necker Island with him. I've actually spent 2 weeks on Necker Island with him. And a lot of people in the world can have pictures of yourself and a celebrity, and you meet them at a convention. But this is me and him. We're literally there on Necker Island. We're about to go kite surfing around Necker Island. And one of the things that I found fascinating was that we only had one homework task when we went to this island. And that was that we had to bring a life hack. So what is a life hack? Well, it's a simple way to move life forward, to make things easier, simpler, safer. And so our homework, we had 25 incredible entrepreneurs, and we all came to Necker Island. We spent a week with Richard Branson and with these other 25 incredible entrepreneurs. And we had to bring one life hack. And after that experience, I realized that I was a wealth hacker. And so let me share my screen with you again, because ultimately, what is important to me is I put myself in the room being the dumbest, poorest person and always trying to learn and to hack my way to wealth, always to be able to learn from people that already have it, or have already been there successfully. And so there's two things that I wanted to share with you. The first is that when I present on finances, I'd love your permission to take off my jacket, because this is not a hoity-toity type presentation. This is a real life based on my own experiences as to how you can invest and how you can get results. So that's the first thing. Hopefully I've got your permission to be able to do that. And the second I've got for you is, when last did you invest in your personal development? I spent $40,000 to invest and spend time with Richard Branson. And it was some of the best money I ever spent. And by the way, I did it twice. And the reason being is that when I find that I put myself in the room with successful people or wealthy people, then I am going to grow much faster. And so the question I have for you is, when was the last time you invested in yourself for your personal development? What did you do to measurably move the needle forward? I found that by doing this, I can dramatically increase my results, and I can do it a lot safer and simpler by copying what other people have been doing, or better still, even partnering with them. And that for me is what I call a wealth hacker. And as Derek said, when he joined the mastermind in 2022, completely. Brian has said all of the above. And Marion said, me, please. So the question I have for you is, why did you show up today? What is your big goal? What are you trying to achieve? What is really important to you in your life? And, when you look at it, the next question as a follow-up is, why have you not achieved it yet? What has been holding you back? What have been some of the barriers that have been holding you back from achieving your big, hairy, audacious goal? And a question that I don't like to answer for myself sometimes, I don't know about you, but how long have you been trying? Has it been days? Has it been weeks? Has it been months? What about years? And in many instances, how about decades? And so the question I have for you is, what do you want more of? Type in the chat box. Let me know. Do you want more time? Do you want more freedom? Do you want more money? Do you want to be paid while you sleep? Do you want to be able to donate more to the church? Do you want more protection of your money? What do you want more of? And you can see that I'm purposely engaging you to ask you lots of questions, to actively understand what it is that you're trying to achieve. As Daria said, he wants more money. He wants more freedom. One of the things that I find fascinating, and just Daria, thanks so much for participating. It's fantastic to see you participating. And so, Kelly, if you wouldn't mind just taking Daria's details, because we're going to give you $10, Daria. We're going to literally put it into your Wealth Migrate wallet. And so you are going to be able to physically invest in an asset, and that asset, that property, is going to pay you a return. And so you are going to get your first payday. Now, everyone here, I want to give everyone here a payday. And so, Daria, well done to you. You're having the first payday, but I want everyone to have a payday. Because what I've found is that when people say, what do they want more of? Ultimately, it comes down to passive income. If you had more passive income, that would be the answer. And you need to make sure that you are getting paid in terms of that process. Now, the question is how to get paid. And so this is that moment where I strongly recommend that you take out a pen and a piece of paper and or your cell phone and get ready to take a picture of the slide. Because there are 4 elements to getting your passive income and ultimately your freedom. The first is that you need the right partners. The second is that you need access to the right deals. The third is that you need the right information. And finally, you need to diversify. And if you look at the acronym and what it is spelling in green, that is how you get paid and ultimately build a diversified passive income of $1,000 or more as soon as possible. Now, if you would like $1,000 or more as soon as possible, then you're in the right place. Because tonight's presentation is all about that. And the very next question that I get asked by everyone is how. Most people have been trying to do this for months, years, or even decades. And the answer is simple. You know, whenever technology comes into a sector, if you look at Uber and how it's changed the taxi industry, or Airbnb, the hotel industry, or Netflix, the blockbuster industry, whenever you take an industry like this, it dramatically changes. So let's use a metaphor everyone understands. Before I had a smartphone, if I wanted to catch a taxi, and say, for example, I was arriving at Heathrow Airport in London, I would have to phone a taxi owner association who would phone a taxi driver who would finally give me a taxi. It was a very inefficient, expensive process. And only the wealthiest of the wealthy had their private driver. Let's call him Jeeves. And so, you know, they would phone their private driver and their private driver would pick them up. Suddenly comes the advent of Uber. And as long as I've got a smartphone, I now have access to my own private driver. It's cut out the middlemen, it's cut out the costs, and it's dramatically increased the trust, the transparency, and the accessibility. Now, every single one of us who has a smartphone has access to our own private driver. Now, this becomes really important because it's exactly the same when it comes to investing. And now, by using technology, you too can invest like the top 1% using technology. Now, what I'm sharing with you tonight, I'm not going to be giving you financial advice. I'm going to be sharing with you my mistakes and my lessons. I've already told you this, but I have been doing this for 28 years. I've helped people in 178 countries to invest. And I've literally made many, many mistakes through all of those years and through all of those experiences. But one of the things that I have found most important is that through all of these learnings, there are valuable experiences and valuable lessons. And I've generally found that when I make an investment in myself, that is when I get the greatest learnings. I've already shared with you the Richard Branson story, and I have many, many more stories. You know, I paid Tony Robbins $50,000 to spend a week with him, because the reason I make these investments in myself is that is when I make the massive progress. And what that allows me to do is to avoid the pitfalls. So the very first thing that I want to share with you is how you can avoid the pitfalls. There are traps which are preventing you from getting what you want in life. Let's start with the very first trap. Actually, before I even get to the trap, who would like to see the traps? I mean, just be honest with me. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars teaching myself so that I could learn from some of the best in the world so that I could avoid these traps. Because ultimately, you're trying to get to here, which is passive income, getting paid while you sleep. But you have to learn how to figure out and navigate all of these traps. So, Tumelo, you would like to know. Let me start to share with you these passive income traps. The first one is relying on one source of income. Now, what does that mean? most people that I deal with are guilty of this trap. Firstly, they might have a job. So they are employed, and at the end of the month, they get paid their salary. And they are only as good as their next salary. The second, they might have a business. It's generally a small to medium enterprise business. And although they have their own company, they really have a business that relies on them for their time. They might be a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer. And ultimately, this business, if it was to stop paying them, then they would be in deep trouble. And the third is someone that actually, has rental property. And generally, they might have 1 or 2 rental properties. And again, this property is paying them a rental income. But if that tenant stops paying, then they're in deep trouble. And proverbially, they've got one egg, and that one egg is sitting in one basket. They truly have all the risk. And as Derek said, as a farmer, relying on one crop or whether the weather comes out. But ultimately, it's one single source of income. You compare that to the wealthy. They have multiple sources of income. And this becomes so important because if you've got multiple different income streams, then you're not ever reliant on just one source of income. And that reduces the risk dramatically. And so it's interesting because Derek is here. And this was a little video that we did with Derek a while ago when he realized the benefit of being able to earn and get paid from multiple sources of income.
Scott, can you remember when you were a little kid and it was Christmas morning and you got your Christmas presents? Huh? Can you remember that? That's
Well, I have a little kid, so I get reminded quite regularly at the moment.
I tell you what, amazing. And I only just got a few dollars back in my investments to get, the second payment that I got in that I've seen on my wallet. And it's money that I didn't have to slog for. I had to think for it, but I didn't have to slog for. And it's absolutely fantastic. It's just when you start seeing your money work for you, it's just an absolutely indescribable feeling. And as a farmer now, I've got a very specific goal, which says that I need to build alternate income streams so that the weather doesn't matter. Because that's being a crop farmer, the weather matters very much, and particularly this past year. When your income for a year is only 30% of what your expenses have been, you're in a difficult position. And to be energized and as excited as what I am in that position is incredibly empowering. Thanks, Scott.
So I have a question for you. If you like that story from Derek, if you'd like to get paid while you sleep, then do me a favor. Either write it on a piece of paper or literally write it in the chat room. And just write the word paid. Because what I'm going to share with you is the passive income traps. But most importantly, I'm going to show you real people and real stories and how they've overcome those traps to achieve the objectives they want. And so, Tumelo, I'd like to just congratulate you. I think it's time for Tumelo to have a payday. And so, Kelly, if you could reach out to Tumelo and let's put $10 into Melo's wallet so that he too can invest like the first world or like the top 1%. And most importantly, Tumelo, I look forward to you getting paid. Right, time to move on. Passive income trap number 2, and that is investing without a strategy. Now, this is one that I get really frustrated by because we've worked with the family office since 2012. Now, a lot of people out there will turn to me and they'll go, Scott, what is a family office? And so a family office is an organization that looks after the wealthiest people in the world. It literally looks after the top 1% of the top 1%. Generally, you need about $250 million to be looked after by a family office. Now, the family office that we work with and have done since 2012, they manage just short of $1 billion, and they've got about 65 families. And so if you go into the details of those 65 families, they have at least $10 million plus. We analyzed and we tracked what they do for those families to not only help them protect their wealth, but to grow their portfolio, to set them up right from a tax and structuring perspective so that they can leave a legacy, so they can create generational wealth for their family and for their children. Now, I'm sure for you this sounds very appealing, but what I found horrified is that, again, the average person is out there and they are literally hoping that they are going to get wealthy or that they can retire at 65. They're literally hoping. That doesn't work. Hope is not a strategy. The second type of people, they're going out to their financial planner and they're literally handing their money over to their financial planner, but they don't understand what their financial planner is doing and whether their financial planner is doing a good job or a bad job. It doesn't really help because they don't understand it. They don't know what is going on. The third type of person is handing their money to a financial planner. But what I find amazing is that there are 9 steps to creating generational wealth, literally 9 steps. And the average financial planner is literally only fulfilling 1 out of the 9 steps. Now, you again should take a picture of this because this is important. There are 9 steps to generational wealth. If you want to protect your wealth, if you want to protect the very thing that you've worked hard for, your money, and if you want to build your wealth, grow your wealth safely, to have the right tax and structuring, to ultimately be able to hand it over to your children, to be able to leave a legacy, then there are 9 steps to creating generational wealth. And I strongly recommend that whether you want to work with us or someone else, you need a framework, you need a strategy. And this blueprint is used by some of the wealthiest families in the world. And this is what Evan had to say about his experience of going through this process.
I've been a dentist for 47 years. I've just retired. And so I'm learning my new career path, which is very exciting. There's some incredible people on board. There really are. So I'm learning a lot. And in terms of learning, it's showing me a completely new path that I didn't even know existed. So it's been exciting, really has, yeah. My financial advisor, who I think is very good, he's been with me 15 years and he's always looked after me. And I don't think he is a typical financial advisor because he runs his own portfolio. But it was typically that. I didn't understand what he was talking about when I went in there. He could say, well, I'm going to put this and do that and buy that and change this. I didn't know what he was doing. Now, all of a sudden, I understand what he's saying. I understand where we're going, and I can actually ask questions and say, no, I don't agree with that. Whereas before, I just listened and signed the paper. That was it. Now I feel that I'm in control. I really feel I'm in control of my financial future, and that gives me a lot of confidence going forward. And I'm trying to get my kids involved. My son-in-law wants to start a new business, and there's just so much now that I can impart my knowledge to them and feel confident with what I'm saying, not just saying it for the sake of saying it. I really feel I can help them on their journey to financial wealth now. That, to me, is probably one of the biggest spin-offs of joining you guys.
So again, do me a favor and type in the chat box or write it down on a piece of paper, control. When you heard Evan's story, how many of you have gone to see a financial planner, not truly understood what they were talking about? Or you talk to your family and you want to impart your knowledge or you want to set them up for success, but ultimately you want control. And I just thought it was so beautiful what Evan said there. It was so nice to be in control. Finally, after 49 years of being a dentist, he'd worked hard all his life, but he wanted to be in control of his financial future. He said it was so nice to be in control. And to those of you writing down control, whether it's in the chat box or in your journal, that is our intention, to help you get in control of your finances. What about the third passive income trap? Well, this one is thinking you need a lot of money to get started. So many people block themselves and they're literally like, yep, that's fine for the really, really rich and wealthy people. But, I'm not like them. I can't get started. And whatever the excuses are that people come up with. And just by the way, I understand I'm not putting people down. These are what I didn't share with you, is that these passive income traps, I personally have been through all of these myself. I came up with these because they were the ones that held me back, the ones that blocked me. Now, what's so interesting is you can use technology out there. And there's a beautiful little testimonial here from Muhammad where he said, thanks for having the $10 entry. Makes me feel like a property tycoon. Move over Gary Cardone. He means Grant Cardone or Trump. And I'm going to literally show you that you can invest from $10. Literally $10. And so for me, the word that I want you to write down is start. Just start. You know, no one ever learned to read. Literally, no one ever learned no one ever learned to swim by reading a book. No one ever learned to walk by reading a book. You can go out and study and go on courses and you can have analysis paralysis. But the most important thing that you need to do is to get started. And that is why this word for me is so important. And like you said, Derek, it's get it done. Because the best way to learn nowadays is to learn while doing. You heard what I said. Just like you learned to walk, where you stood up and fell down, you stood up and you fell down. It's exactly the same way. And so you just need to get started. And that's why I want you to write down the word start. It's really important. You'll notice the words that I'm using on purpose. Right. Your fourth trap, your fourth passive income trap. Buying houses will fund your retirement. Oh my word. How many of us have been told that? You know, I know personally, let me show you quickly. You know, I went out and I got all these type of books, Think and Grow Rich and Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Real Estate Riches and all these books that I read 20 years ago. And I read hundreds of books and I went on loads of courses. I have an honors degree, cum laude. I have a master's degree, cum laude. I've done the top qualifications out of England, America, and South Africa. And what I was taught was the way to retire was to go buy houses. So I went out and I bought houses. I bought 16 houses. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. But after about a decade, I realized that I had more hassles in my life and less money. So rather than retiring, I had more hassles in my life and less money by buying houses. And then I started to look, why is this passive income trap so prevalent? And why does it have such an impact? And the reason being is that the old system is broken. If you're over here, the investor, and you're trying to invest over here, there are 16 different middlemen between you and your investment. And I know for some of the left brainers out there, you're going, yeah, Scott, what one, etc. But there are main people in the process, but there are actually 16 different middlemen through the whole process. There's no trust, there's no transparency, there's high fees, low returns, and no alignment. But the best way for me to explain this to you is the game of Monopoly. Now, I love the game of Monopoly, and I'm sure that, who else there enjoyed the game of Monopoly? Type it in the chat box for me and let me know who else here enjoyed the game of Monopoly. And I just want to make a note here because this is so important in terms of what is happening and where the world is going and the lessons you can learn from when we were literally children. So this is for Marion and Ankuri and Brian. Was it better to own a greenhouse or a red hotel? So from when you were a child, probably below the age of 10, was it better on a Monopoly board to own a greenhouse or a red hotel? I can see Derek says hotel, Ankuri says hotel, Marion hotel, Tomelo hotel. So well done to all of you. Now let's get a little bit more advanced. Was it better to own 4 greenhouses or 1 red hotel? And Brian says hide in jail. Interesting concept. But was it better to own 4 greenhouses or 1 red hotel? And I can see Fillion says the hotel. Anyone else? You can see the hotel. Marion says the hotel. The answer is correct. Even as a child under the age of 10, we learned that the best way to win the game of Monopoly was to own red hotels, or what is better known as commercial property. And then the question I have for you is, why did we all go out? If we knew it was red hotels, why did we all go out and buy houses? And that's where the value chain of real estate comes in. Because ultimately, this is you and I, we're sitting over here. And I say to people, why don't you go up the value chain? Why don't you buy commercial property? Why don't you own an office block or a shopping center or a medical center or an industrial logistics park? Or better still, why don't you go and do your own development? And having helped people from all over the world, these are just some of the things that they say to me. You know, Scott, it sounds too good to be true. I don't know how. There's too much complaint, you know, complexity. How do I do it? Ongoing management issues. I don't have time. How do I protect myself? It's too expensive. Ultimately, it comes down to I don't have the money, I don't have the time, and I don't have the knowledge. One of those three excuses generally is the number one reason that people stop. I know for me with commercial property, it was like, I don't have the money. I've got to get a 30% deposit and, you know, I don't have 30%, so I can't do it. Then I was like, well, actually, I don't know how to do it. Like, I don't know anything about trying to buy a shopping center or a medical office building. And then in terms of time, you know, when you're young, you often got a lot of time. But as you grow older, you've got no time. And then you just don't have the time to go and explore. Even if you've been successful in one country, how do you start to invest in international property or different countries? You just don't have the time to go and explore it. And so I wanted to give you a real life demonstration. So let me literally log in here. And I'm going to log in and I'm going to go to wealthmigrate.com. So this is our platform. And this is a platform that we've built over the last decade. We've spent over $20 million building this platform. So, you know, it's certainly been a large investment in terms of the process. And oh, come on. Let me just, we've updated the passwords. Let me just put my Wealth Migrate password in here. Come on, man. Okay, so I'm into the platform. At least you know that's a live demonstration in terms of where we're at. So I can go and set up my wallet here. I can have it in my own name, offshore company or trust. I can go look at all the deals. I can look at my portfolio. So I hate having everything all in one place. Sorry, I hate having everything all over the world. I want to have everything all in one place. So I've got all my investments all in one place. I can manage everything all in one place. I don't have to set up wallets all over the world. I can literally have all of my dividends and payments all coming into one place. So I can manage it, whether it's in dollars, pounds, euros, Aussie dollars. It's all coming into one place. And then I can go and manage my portfolio online. But tonight I want to play Global Monopoly. I always joke, I'm a child in an adult's body. And you can look here at the moment, we've got a number of deals that are open. So we've got a debt deal in Manhattan, New York, which can pay 10.35%. We've got an equity option in New York, which is 22.5%. We've got a blended option, which is a 17% in New York. We've got a London opportunity, which is 25%. We've got a debt opportunity in Austin that's 9.42%. And we've got an equity opportunity in an industrial building in Phoenix, America, which is 16.41%. So do me a favor. Which one would you like to invest in? Let's pick a few and let's see where people want. Let's play Monopoly in real life. Do you want to invest in Manhattan, in New York, in Austin, or in Phoenix? Let me know in the chat box where you'd like to invest. Okay, so let's start off with Manhattan. And I want to go into Manhattan, and I can see Brian said Manhattan, so great. I can go look at the investment. Just by the way, did you think you could get a cash and income return of 10.35% paid annually? So that's the opportunity here. You can go look at the deal. You can read all about it. You can download the documentation. But for the purposes tonight, I want to invest. I can start from $10. I go continue. I digitally sign the agreement. I can download it if I want, and I go agree. And I go make investment. And there you've just seen me invest into Manhattan. Now, I mean, I think this is really exciting. In the old days, you would have had to fly into America with me. You would have had to set up a company. You would have to set up a bank account. You would have had to have millions of dollars to be able to invest in Manhattan. You would have had to get a mortgage and manage a tenant and everything else. And you've literally just witnessed me invest in under 30 seconds. Now, let's go back. Now, I want to do a bit of London. So I like this deal. I want to invest in London. It's a private equity deal. I digitally sign the agreement. I go, I agree, and I go make investment. And you've literally just seen me invest into London. Well, let me keep browsing the marketplace. Now I want to go do something in Austin. I go invest in this deal, $10. I digitally sign the agreement, same as the other two. And I go, I agree, and I go make investment. And just see me invest into Austin. And let me finally go and invest into Phoenix, an industrial building in Phoenix. I must admit, when I was growing up and buying houses, I never thought I'd be able to invest in an industrial logistics building right in the heart of Phoenix, one of the top 3 commercial property or real estate markets in America. And I literally go invest from $10. I digitally sign the agreement and I go agree and I go make investment. And there you've just seen me invest in under 2 minutes in New York, in London, in Austin, and in Phoenix. And what I basically proved to you is that people that say they don't have the time, I've just diversified across 4 different asset classes, 4 different partners, 2 different countries, 2 different currencies, and across 4 different timelines. I've just truly diversified, and I've literally shown you. So if someone said to me, I don't have the time, I've shown you how you can do it in a very minimal amount of time. Someone says to me, I don't have the knowledge. Well, we've got access to some of the best partners. You're investing alongside institutional partners, so you can learn while doing. And when someone says to me, I don't have the money, we have people that invest millions of dollars. In fact, our average transaction is $25,000 per investment. But I've just shown you how you can do it from $10. I mean, is this exciting? Can you see yourself doing this? I don't know. I just get so excited when I share this stuff with people because, for me, it's just incredible what is now possible with regards to technology and where things are going. So what does this mean? Well, if you go to the platform, you no longer have to invest in greenhouses. You can invest in red hotel, red hotel, red hotel. And as an example, I mean, I literally launched this at lunchtime today, this Manhattan deal. Depending on what you invest in, you can get from a 6 to 12% income, cash on cash return. You get from 14 to 23% IRR, which is your total growth per year. It's a 4 to 7 year hold. If you put $100,000 in, you'll aim to double it in 5 years. It's called a 2x multiple, and it's an ROI of roughly 20%. And what I think certainly blew me away is I never ever expected to be investing in downtown Manhattan. I mean, if you take the New York Stock Exchange, and I'm literally investing, and you and I are investing right here, literally, close to it. And so my question is, I wanted to prove to you that you can make money while you sleep and get paid while you sleep. But I wanted to actually show you, because those of you that have owned houses knows what it's like. They call it the toilet and tenant business. Why? Because you have to deal with broken toilets, you have to deal with tenants, you have to deal with maintenance. Anyone that's ever owned residential property or buy-to-let property knows the hassle involved in owning the toilet and tenant business. But what about commercial property? Let's go look at some real-life examples of properties that we're actually invested in. So I need to open up these platforms for you because they're all live. But if I literally log in here, so we did 2 industrial buildings with this partner. And again, it's just loading live for you. But you can see here that in March, we got paid roughly $4,000 by these 2 buildings. In February, we got paid $4,000. In January, we got paid. In December, in November, in October, in September, in August. And I think you can see it just coming in every single month into your wallet. And what I find so interesting is these properties are so boring. If you enjoy going and fixing the toilets and collecting rent and dealing with management agents and vacancies and all the hassles and the vagrancies involved in residential property, then don't do this. But if you want boring, if you want to get paid while you sleep, then look how this money is just coming in. And you've got partners on the ground that are looking after the building, collecting the rent, and paying you on a monthly basis. Let's look at some other examples. I mean, this one here, this one here is, I just have to log into all of these. So this one here is where we bought not just one property, but 750 properties. So it's called multifamily in America. And again, we invested in Oklahoma with an institutional partner. And this property pays us $6,400 every quarter. So you can see here again, every quarter, you can see here, March, November, August, May, February, November, August, May, February, $6,400 just comes into our account. So boring in terms of the process. But I don't know about you. I mean, let's be honest, put up your hands here. I know I certainly shake my head, put up my hand. I like boring. I certainly like to invest in boring. Let me give you one more here, and I just got to log in live to this one. People say to me in the middle of COVID, "Oh, you shouldn't invest in commercial office buildings." It's like, okay, that's fine. Let us go and look at our buildings here. And we invested just in this most amazing building, this really tall building, a bank building. I never ever thought that I would get access to it. Again, literally, it pays $6,300 every quarter and has done literally back to January 2021. We bought it in December 2020. And so this gives you an example of how you can truly make money while you sleep. And ultimately, you can get paid. So let's see what Disebo had to say about her experience of the old way versus the new way and how it made her feel.
Can I invest? How can I invest? No, learning about the property more, because I was investing on the property in the old-fashioned way. But now I know the new fashion way of doing investing on the property without a stress. Because you never know which family will get, as I got the new family right now. And Scott, I will say this Saturday, I felt like a billionaire. I felt the sense of the 9 figures being, when we were on the cruise, I was like, I feel like I'm a billionaire.
So my question to you, and type it in the chat box, she's got the most beautiful laugh, but type it in the chat box. Who would like to feel like a billionaire? At the end of the day, when you invest alongside the top 1%, when you invest with the top 1%, you start to get the results of the top 1%. Now, I want to be very clear. She's not a billionaire. But what she said is she feels like a billionaire because she's now getting access to investing alongside the top 1%. And my wish and my dream for you is that you too can experience that. I mean, my question for you, can you see yourself doing that? Can you see yourself feeling like that? So I want to share with you my little story, because I've had the privilege of doing this now for over 2 decades. And if I look at it, I've now invested on 5 continents, 5 different currencies, 40 different assets, 15 different partners, and across time. And what this has allowed me to do, what it has afforded me to do, is to live a lifestyle. This was the picture off the back of my boat. It's not photoshopped. It's literally the sunset where I live. This is the beach that my son and I go to many evenings. We go there by boat after work. This is the view from my balcony when I wake up in the morning. This is the picture of the Heads, which is the river or the lagoon that we go on with the boat. And this is my son and I sitting in the jacuzzi. I know most of you would love to travel. My son and I love rugby. In 2023, we were at the Rugby World Cup in France. This is us outside the Eiffel Tower. I know many of you would love to take your child to Disney World. This was us at Disney World. This was in Southeast Asia and traveling around Southeast Asia. This was an idyllic island in the Indian Ocean. And this was me on the Great Wall of China. Now, I could go on and on and on about pictures of the lifestyle that investing has afforded me to live. But what I wanted to share with you was a personal story. because this picture here is me and my dad. I was 13 years old. And this was the first time that I was actually doing my own property project. But what is so interesting is that the story I learned from my dad was not what not to do. My dad went to school. He went to university. He worked hard. He got a great job. He finally became a chartered accountant of a listed company. It's pretty impressive. He trusted the financial industry. He invested. He paid his taxes. And yet when my dad died at the age of 59, he died broke. Yes, you heard me correctly. He died broke. And as a young boy, I sat there and I went, hang on, this doesn't make any sense to me. I've been told to work hard, go to school, go to university, get a great degree, get a great job. And don't worry, you'll retire happily at the age of 65. And I was like, but I just watched my dad do it and it didn't work. So I went out and I decided to do it a different way. I went out and I started to study and I learned from a guy called Dr. Hannes Dreyer. And he said, you know that in England, Australia, and America, at the age of 65, 94% of people will be like your dad. They will either be broke, dead, or reliant on the government. 94%. 5% of people will be what's called financially independent. And again, when I'm in a room, I say, who put up your hand? Who wants to be financially independent? And lots of people do. Until they find out the stats. According to the financial industry, you earn, if you're financially independent, you earn 25% less than your last paycheck. Basically, you're just financially trapped. Look at all of our parents. Look at all the baby boomers. Look how many people are financially trapped. And only 1% of people retire wealthy at the age of 65. And so I decided to do it differently. I went out, and like I shared with you, this was my first property project when I was 13 years old. This here was my first property development when I was 22. I took a house and developed it into 6 townhouses. This was my first London property when I was 24 years old. And at 25, I started a company and I helped thousands of people invest in houses or apartments in South Africa, hundreds into London, hundreds into Australia, and hundreds into America. But what I noticed was that every one of these investors was stuck in country. They were all investing locally in their local country. If they wanted to invest in commercial property or international property, there were massive barriers and it was extremely difficult. And that wasn't even taking into account the tax, the compliance, and the structuring. And what I learned was that 99% of people could not invest like the top 1%. Then I had experience in 2009, and there was an opportunity to buy 48 units, buy the entire block. There was a developer called Barrett Homes. It's a highly successful developer in England. And because of the crash in 2008, 2009, there was a real buying opportunity. I went out to all my investors. I had 2,500 investors. And I literally said, I don't care what happens to market values in the short term. This represents a real opportunity. We could buy it at a 40% discount, and there was a net positive rental of £440 a month. And what frustrated me was I needed to have £10 million in cash, and I could not get the investors to work together, and I lost this opportunity, and it created a tremendous amount of pain for me. I was then in Bondi Beach, Sydney, and I met 2 very, very wealthy gentlemen. I said, what are you investing in? And they said, medical buildings. I said, why medical? No one, I've got all these degrees. No one ever taught me medical. And they said, well, think about it. No matter what happens in the world economy, people need doctors. Secondly, doctors never leave their premises. And thirdly, doctors make very good doctors, but they're not great accountants. So they sign a very good long-term favorable lease. I was like, that's an absolute no-brainer. I said, how do I participate? They said, well, we're raising $40 million. There's 8 slots of $5 million. So again, I ran around to all my investors and tried to get them to participate. And once again, we failed. This company went on to be worth 700 million Australian dollars on the Australian Stock Exchange. And what I started to realize was that I'm trying to do it all myself. You know, when I wanted to get into American property, Dr. Dolph DeRoos, literally the author of this book, Real Estate Riches, he offered a course to come to America and to learn on the ground. And so what did I do? I paid $8,000. I jumped on the ground and I flew over to America. Now, you'll notice my modus operandi. I'm always happy to pay people to be able to accelerate my growth. So this was Dr. Dolph DeRoos here. I was literally on the steps of the courthouse. This was 2011 in Phoenix. And I was learning how to buy houses in America, how to take advantage of the market. And again, my modus operandi was to do it all myself. Yes, I would pay a coach. I would pay a mentor to go out there and accelerate my growth so that I could learn from them. But I was still trying to buy the properties on my own. I mean, who else resonates with me? Just be honest with yourself. If you too have been trying to do it yourself, you can just type in there, DIY if you want to, or do it yourself. But, I know for myself, I spent 14 years reading all the books, going on all the courses, spending an absolute fortune on personal development so that I could learn how to do it all myself. And then in 2010, I learned a different way. I came across, I'd known Tony Robbins for a long time. Again, I spent $15,000 to fly to Vegas to learn from Tony Robbins. And then I spent $50,000 to fly to Fiji. Yes, you can see the amounts of money that I have invested in myself to accelerate my growth. And when I was with Tony Robbins, I learned that the most important thing is that if you want to be successful, copy successful people. If you want to be wealthy, copy wealthy people. But then I had the privilege, after investing in myself, I had the privilege of going into business with Tony Robbins. Not many people in the world can say that, but I have the accolade, if you want to say that, of saying I went into partnership. I went into business partnership with Tony Robbins. Yes, it cost me $50,000 to pay to fly to Fiji, to be in his proximity, to spend time with him. But I got the rights to build a business with Tony Robbins. And what I learned is that the fastest way to success, you can say, is to copy successful people. But even faster than that is to partner with successful people. The fastest way to wealth is to copy wealthy people. But even faster than that is to partner with them. And so after 14 years of doing residential property, I finally figured out a way to do commercial property through partnership. We invested in these 6 buildings. It was a portfolio of $16 million in commercial medical property. And what was interesting, we owned it for 5 years. We had an institutional partner. We were paid an 8% return year on year. And when we finally sold it off to a property fund, we made a total return of 15% IRR year on year. And I ask you the question, who here would like to get returns like that? This is in US dollars. And from there, I learned all about partnership. We did deals in America, in England, in Europe, in Australia, in South Africa. And over the last, more than a decade, we've now helped people in 178 countries. We facilitated over $1.3 billion. We paid out $31 million in distributions and dividends. And one of the things that I am truly, truly grateful for is there are so many places, people, names from all over the world, whether they're different backgrounds, men and women, that have ultimately found a way to invest alongside and with the top 1%. And so my question is, when you see all these faces and all these people, why can you not participate? To the ladies who are out there, there's a massive movement happening around the world in terms of women and their access to wealth and being empowered, and women taking control of their financial futures. If it's something that you're inspired by, whether you're a man or woman, type in there, woman, because it's time to change the rules in terms of how this investment space is working and allow everybody to invest like the top 1%, to allow you to invest like the top 1%. And when I ask people, would you like the same results as them? What I really find is that there's a number of things that you need to understand. Firstly, there are 4 reasons which are going to stop you from getting what you want. 4 reasons. There are 4 elements to passive income and freedom. And there are 4 steps to passive income. So my question is, Who here would like me to share what the 4 reasons are that are going to stop you, what the 4 elements are, and what the 4 steps are, so that you too can get the same results? Just type in the chat box. I'm fascinated to see what people have got to say. You know, there's a Chinese curse that says it's an insult to say to someone that they'll stay where they are. You know, maybe you've been trying to get passive income for many years, or maybe even many decades. Maybe you've been trying to get paid while you sleep for many years or even many decades. I believe it's time to change. It's time to draw a line in the ground, to step over the line and to say now and no further. It is time for you to take control. It is time for you to get paid. And what I found that is so exciting with all of these thousands of people that we've helped is the moment that you start to get the results, you start to realize that it's real. You start to get the peace of mind that it is possible. And once you start to get momentum, then anything is possible. So let's get back to those 4 reasons that are blocking you in terms of where we're at. The first is that people use the excuse, I don't have money. The second, I don't have knowledge. The third, I don't have time. I mean, I deal with this at a mastermind level where people come to me, they'll be wealthy, successful people, and they say, I'd love to join the mastermind, but I don't have time. And I say to them, it will take you no more than 3 hours a month. And you want passive income, you want diversification, you want to be a global citizen, you want to protect your wealth and set up your children for the future in terms of their legacy. And yet you're telling me you don't have time, 3 hours a month? And I literally look them in the eye and say, whatever you want in life, no matter what it is, if you cannot invest 3 hours a month, it'll never, ever happen. You have to find a way to find the time to do what is important to you. And lastly, you get stuck, trapped in one of the passive income traps. And as Derek said, I find it absolutely fascinating because Albert Einstein, the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Derek, who I brought up earlier, was a farmer. And for 42 years, he would do his farming. He would dig and he would hope that the weather would produce. He would plant seeds and he would hope the crops come. But ultimately, you can hope every year for a better crop, a better weather situation. But when he finally did something different, and when he got his money to work for him while he slept, the very first time he got paid was $6. But when you realize that you can make $6, then you realize you can start to make $60, and then $600, and then possibly $6,000 or more. But that's the definition of what Albert Einstein is saying. You have to do something different so that you can expect a different result. Now, the 4 elements to passive income, I've already shared this with you, but you need the right partners. You need to access the right deals. You need the right information, and you need diversification. And I would strongly recommend that you are writing this down or at least taking a picture, because these are the foundational aspects that are going to fundamentally change your life. Because this is how you can truly get paid a diversified passive income of $1,000 or more as soon as possible. Now, let me share with you a story from a teacher. Some people say, yeah, but I'm not wealthy, I'm not successful, whatever. Cynthia is an amazing lady. She's a teacher. She's a single mom. And let her explain her story of how she got paid in 30 days.
I'm living in a foreign country. I can't go back into my old career, which was China media, because I'm living in Italy. I had 3 kids to feed. I'd left my husband. And I was like, where's my skill set? So I was actually at the stage of like, just how do you put food on the table? And it was the first time it hit me that I was working for money, selling my time for my hours for time, and that my money wasn't working for me. And I was in that frozen position of like, what do I do with it? Like, I need this money to work for me, because I'm over here scrambling to find a job and to put food on the table for the kids. I was really at that paralyzed, what do I do? What do I invest in? I was at that age where I felt like I don't have another, ride it out 20 years, and the stock market always rebounds. I don't have another 20 years to ride it out. What are your needs? What's your financial situation? And I pulled up that matured fund that I had and said, I need to invest this, but I don't want to, I can't invest it for the long term. Here are my needs. I have immediate goals. I have 3 children that have just gone off to college. So I suddenly have immediate financial goals that I'm not going to be able to meet if I keep just relying on my income or selling time for money. And they listened. They asked really smart, relevant questions I wouldn't have thought of, but they were particular to me. And I didn't feel like I was being put into a box of, you're this type of investor, or you're this type of investor, or you're this type, And it wasn't just the are you high risk, are you low risk? It was really they really tried to understand my needs. And within 24 hours, they had a proposal to me. But here's what we're going to do to solve your immediate problem. And within 1 month, I had income coming in from an investment from them, which just liberated me. I mean, it was just the buffer I needed to not panic about money anymore, and to make the rest of the decisions slowly and, from a different mindset.
So I just want to check everyone saw that video in terms of coming up, because what Cynthia shared there was ultimately that she got paid in 30 days. And so, again, I want you to write it down or type it in the chat box, 30 days. Because how many of you have felt the financial weight on your shoulders and not knowing? And sometimes you've got some money and you've worked hard for it. In her case, she worked hard for it. And 20 years later, she had a payout, and she was like, what do I do with it? And she was feeling this fear. And for 4 years, she did nothing. She didn't want to lose it. And then she met us. And she came and worked with us in our family office, and they gave her a solution. And within 30 days, her capital was deployed and she was being paid. And as she said, it was just this financial weight off her shoulders. And so if you would like, results within 30 days, then this is what becomes possible. There's another video here which I love from Cynthia, which I think is so important. And I just want to make sure that I'm sharing the sound here with you. But this is what else she had to say.
It's a safety net that's just unbelievable to me, that someone who is not by any means a high net worth individual can have your money working for you, can have my money working for me, and give me that peace of mind. But there really isn't anything like finding the partnerships that we have in this group. So yeah, I think the partnership is the number one reason to join the mastermind. It's not just about the knowledge. It's about how do you execute, but you can't execute unless you have the deals in front of you. And you can't have deals in life, in any aspect of life, unless you have good partners. And it's a partnership that I would highly recommend people to. It's worth the entire investment. When I think of where I was 1 year ago, it's a million miles away, and not just because I have income coming in, but knowing what my next steps are. Like, I know where I'm going. I know where the next chunk of money is going to go into. I know what, I want to invest in. I know what I don't want to invest in. And I know the partners that I want to do it with. And that's just a huge weight off anybody's, financial shoulders.
So we spoke to you about partners. Write it down. I'm teaching you what the traps are, and I'm also teaching you what the solutions are. It's all about having the right partners. And she said what a massive impact having partners was. And so do me a favor, type in the chat box there, partners, or write it down in your book, because this is absolutely key. You cannot succeed, as she said, without having the right partners. And so the 4 steps to passive income and getting paid, and having whatever it is you want in your life, having more time, having more freedom, being able to look after your children, being able to protect your wealth, being able to immigrate, being able to send your kid to an overseas university, being able to put more in, to a charity. Whatever it is that you wanting to desire, there are 4 steps to getting this passive income. Now, I want to know quickly in the chat box, who would like to see these 4 steps? Because literally 4 steps to being able to achieve the passive income. And if you want me to, I can literally share it with you. I have an honors degree I have a master's degree. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on university degrees. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars doing courses. And when you think what I'm about to share with you, please don't underestimate the value. Because if you were to go and do an MBA, you'd probably spend $100,000 to be able to get the knowledge so that you could actually start to make money while you sleep. And what I'm going to literally share with you is how you can, the 4 steps to passive income. So here it is, the 4 steps to your payday. Step number 1 is you sign up. Step number 2 is you complete your profile. Step number 3 is you fund your wallet. And step number 4 is you invest. Now, let me give you a little picture. You and I, Jill and Joe Sloan, are sleeping in our bed. There's an investment, let's just say it's a property, and we want to make money while we sleep. Ultimately, we want to get paid while you sleep. That's the objective. The challenge is we go out and we find books and we find courses and we go and do degrees and we do a huge amount of things, and we basically get lost and we get stuck and then we fall off. And so the question we asked ourselves was, how can we get you from A to B as quickly as possible? How can we get you to earn a passive income? And so we set ourselves a challenge, and we said, we want to help someone achieve an objective to get a result in 30 days. And we literally called it the 30-day passive income challenge. And it was all about getting people paid. And so again, take out your camera and take a picture of this. It ain't no Picasso, but this is what you want. You want to be lying in your bed and you want to get paid while you sleep. You want to earn a passive income. And that is why we created the 30-day passive income challenge. If I go into slightly more detail, there are literally 30 days to your payday. And that is why we literally created this challenge. The first is that you need to go on the platform and sign up. That is week 1. The second is that you complete your profile. That is week 2. The third is that you fund your wallet. That is week 3. And the fourth is that you invest. That is week 4. And what is so interesting is that when you complete this, within 30 days, it'll equal your first payday. Now, we've spoken a lot about time. And people say to me, yeah, but I don't have the time. And I say to you, can you invest 1 hour or less per week, yes or no, to be able to get a payday that's going to pay you for the rest of your life? Yes or no? Less than 4 hours to set this up and to get this working. Can you do that? Yes or no? Because if you can do that, we fundamentally believe, and we had a bit of fun because we all like Monopoly, but when you played Monopoly, there was a get out of jail free card. Your payday, earning money and getting paid while you sleep, is your get out of jail free card. Maybe that's you can leave the job that you don't like. Maybe that's that you no longer have to work with business partners that you don't like. Maybe that's you can leave the country that you don't like. Whatever it is that is your jail, whatever it is that is holding you back, this can be your get out of jail free card. It can literally be your payday. There are 4 simple steps. And I know for most people, they're like, oh, it sounds too good to be true. And, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not. It is an easy process. That's why I like to show you Cynthia's process. It is easy. We've made it easy so that you too can do it. And if Cynthia and all of the people that you've met tonight, plus thousands of other investors have been able to do it, then I believe that you too can achieve it. So let's recap in terms of the 4 traps that have literally held you back in terms of earning your passive income. The first is that you've been relying on one source of income. And I compare that to the wealthy that build multiple income streams that all work together. So if you remember, we wrote down the word paid. The second trap is you're investing without a strategy. Most people are investing blindly, hoping for returns, whether the smart investors are following a proven system. And I literally showed you the 9 steps to generational wealth. And if you remember, I showed you the real life story from Evan, and the word we wrote down was control. He was in control of his financial future. The third passive income trap is thinking you need a lot of money. Most people think, oh, I don't have millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars. I can't get started. The truth is, you can start earning a passive income from as little as $10. I've literally shown you that tonight. And I got you to write down the word start. The next is that buying houses will fund your retirement. The problem is your home doesn't actually generate a passive income. In fact, it costs you money. And the problem with traditional rental properties is they are far from passive. And I showed you the story of literally going online and actually starting to invest and realizing that there's a new way of doing it. I showed you Sibo and the way that she experienced the new way of doing it and how it made her feel. And that's why I put down for you the word billionaire in terms of that process. And then we moved to what you need to do. And we went through basically what it was that Cynthia Morgan had done. And we literally wrote down results. If you remember, we wrote down 30 days and we wrote down partners. Now, I started off in the beginning by asking you a number of questions. And the first question that I showed you was for Warren Buffett. And he said, you need to make a way to make money while you sleep, or you'll work until you die. Can I agree, or will you agree with me, that I have shown you tonight how you can get paid while you sleep? I literally gave you a live demonstration to show you how easy it was to get started. And I've shown you many people, real people with real stories that are getting real results. I've shown you how you can own assets which are hassle-free, simple, and safe. I've shown you how to get access to the knowledge that the top 1% have. I've shown you how you can get access to the partners that the top 1% have and navigate the uncertainties of the market. I've shown you how you can have time freedom. Remember, I showed you how I literally did it in a couple of minutes. I've shown you how you can diversify across countries, currencies, assets, partners, and time. And I've also shown you how you can protect your wealth, have a plan B, and have peace of mind. But most importantly, what I've shown you is how you can earn a passive income and how you can get paid. So the question most of you are probably asking yourself, how do I actually get paid? Now, just type in the chat box for me. Who here has this question going through their head? Who here is thinking to themselves, yeah, this all sounds wonderful, but there's probably a catch, or it's not for me, or whatever the reason is that's going through it in terms of that process? Who here would like me to share with you 4 simple steps so that you too can get paid? 4 simple steps. As Derek said, if I can do it, anyone can do it. So I can see that there's a couple of people that are coming through to me and saying, yep, please share it with me. And what I wanted to share with you is what we call our Payday Accelerator. Now, in our Payday Accelerator, there are 4 simple steps. What we are wanting you to do, just like I showed you when I went to see Tony Robbins or Dr. Dolph DeRuis, I invested in myself. And by investing in myself, I was able to accelerate my growth. I was able to accelerate getting access to the result that I wanted. So step number 1 is the 30-day passive income challenge. As I said to you, when you do the 30-day passive income challenge, you literally sign up, complete your profile, fund your wallet, and invest. Simple. And within 30 days, you get your first payday. Step number 2, you get a wealth discovery call. That's where we sit with you and we actually understand what is it that you are wanting to achieve. We want to understand where are you at. We want to understand what has prevented you from achieving your goals to date. And lastly, we want to help you find the fastest way to help you achieve it. You literally have a session with one of our wealth coaches to take you through that process. Thirdly, you get access to our Global Wealth University. This is a community of like-minded people that are all working together to earn a diversified passive income of at least $1,000 or more as soon as possible. And the fourth step is it's called coaching and accountability. For 4 weeks, there's a coaching and accountability session with one of our internationally qualified wealth coaches, where we literally take you step by step through the process. We hold you accountable, whether it's the carrot or the stick, to help you get a result. And according to Harvard, you have a 400% better chance of getting a result with a coach than you do on your own. Do you want to try and do it all on your own? Or would you like a coach to hold your hand? Because statistically, according to Harvard, you will have a 400% better chance of success. And as John Wooden says, a good coach can change the game. A great coach can change your life. What impact would it have in your life if you started to get paid while you slept? If you started to earn passive income from multiple income streams? How valuable would that coach be to you? Because this is what others had to say in terms of that process. You guys are so honest. Sure, blessed to have access to all this information, boggles my mind. But with partners like you, I will also get there. It's like eating an elephant. How do they do it? Bit by bit. Your network is your net worth. The coaching and hand-holding we are receiving is actually priceless. The presentation is very inclusive. It's for very ordinary people to get involved. It's a very fair price. It's very clear, and people get to participate during the presentation. May I please agree on Alex? Mind blowing. Alex is the coach that holds people through this process and holds them accountable. I will climb Kilimanjaro with him. I did the 30-day challenge. I started investing. It's well worth it. Passive income challenge changed my life and has put me in a wealthy mindset now. Absolutely, the 30-day challenge was worth the time spent on it. Thank you, Scott. I'll be revising again tonight. Wealth Migrate has changed my entire outlook with considering investments. Where have you been all along? I guess in my case, rather late than never. So if we go back and we look at what is involved in the Payday Accelerator, which is your fastest way to your payday every single day. Step one is the passive income challenge. And you also get access to all the recordings. What does it give you? It gives you passive income. And the value of that is $399. Step two, you get a discovery call with one of our wealth coaches. What does that give you? Clarity on your next steps. That is worth $99. Step number three, access to the Global Wealth University and community. This is all around knowledge. That is worth $99. Step four, coaching and accountability. This is all about getting you results. And that is worth $400. If you put it all together, and it actually gives you peace of mind, gives you the peace of mind to know that you can get the freedom. We believe that the value to you is priceless. And what about if you have a smart investing system where you can literally use the technology to do this safely and simply? It literally gives you a system. It is also priceless. If you put the total value together, it's $997. But one of the things that I've found is that once you've been through those 4 steps, and once you've started to realize that this is truly possible, I want to provide you with a bonus tool, a couple of bonus tools to really help you accelerate your payday. So the first bonus tool is what we call the Freedom Calculator. And this is where we help you get clear on what is the number that will allow you to be free. We then help you with a process to be able to design what you need to do to help achieve that and how long it'll take. And we'll literally give you access to our Freedom Calculator to help you calculate that so you know exactly what it is you need to achieve, how long it'll take you, and how you're going to do it. Our second bonus is what we call our wealth plan. So many people are out there navigating. They don't know where they're going. They don't have a plan. I mean, how many of you actually have a wealth plan or a strategy? So we'll give you our wealth plan. And there's 3 sections to it. Why do you want to achieve what you want to achieve? How do you want to achieve what you need to? It tells you how you need to do it. And then finally, what do you need to do? All on one page. That is our second bonus. Our third bonus is a wealth roadmap. You know, people ask me, they say, I want to start with $100. But I actually did the calculation. If there's a formula and a way to do this, that if you invest $100 a month for 20 years plus, you can actually get to $15,000 a month in passive income. And that's after tax. And I will give you as a gift our wealth roadmap. And then finally, our return on investment calculator. When someone sits down with me and they say, Scott, what is the return on investment of this course or any other course, or this investment or any other investment? You need a calculator to be able to calculate that. So as an example, if you were literally investing and putting your money in, and you were going to invest $100 a month, just $100 a month, and you were to invest $97 in a course. So literally, you're only going to invest once off $97. In 1 year, you're going to get a 40% return on investment, or you're going to get $38 back. In 5 years, you're going to get 1,100% return on investment, or over $1,000 back. In 10 years, you're going to get a 4,950% return, or $4,800 back. And in 30 years, you're going to get a 76,000% return, or $74,397. And the question I would have for you, if you had a money machine and you could put in $97, and 30 years from now, the difference between making that decision and not making that decision is equal to you and your family $75,000, would you make the decision to spend the $97 and invest in yourself? I'm almost 100% sure that you would, but you need a calculator to be able to understand and to make these decisions. So if I show you again what the Payday Accelerator is, you get the passive income challenge that gives you passive income. It's worth $399. You get the discovery call with a wealth coach that gets you your next steps, $99. You get access to the Global Wealth University, which is knowledge, $99. You get the coaching and accountability, which is all about results, $400. You get peace of mind, priceless. You get smart investing, which is the system, priceless. The total value, $997. But now I want to chuck in the bonuses. These are for people that once you actually complete it and get a result, I want to share with you the bonuses. Firstly, it'll be the Freedom Calculator, which will literally give you the clarity. That alone is worth $997. Bonus number 2, the Wealth Plan. That is going to give you direction, $99. Bonus number 3, the Wealth Roadmap. It's going to give you hope. That is worth $99. And finally, the Return on Investment Calculator. That's going to give you confidence, worth $99. You put all of that together, and it's $2,291. I mean, how many of you would like passive income, next steps, knowledge, results, freedom, a system, clarity, direction, hope, and confidence? But we had 2 choices. We could either make this super expensive and only work with a limited number of people and give them bespoke one-to-one advice, or we could live up to our purpose, which is to help everybody, to help you invest like the top 1%. And so we're not going to. We could easily charge $2,291 because that is the value and many times over. But we're not going to charge $2,291. The question I would have for you is, would you invest $1,000 if all it did was help you achieve your freedom goal? Would it be worth it for you? Type it in the chat box for me, or just write it down on a piece of paper. Mentally think it through. Would you invest in yourself $1,000 if all it would help you do is achieve your freedom goal? Would it be worth it to you? Yes or no? And what about if all it did was provide you 4 simple steps to get passive income of $1,000 or more? Would it be worth $1,000 to you? 4 simple steps to get a passive income of $1,000 or more. Would it be worth $1,000 to you? What about if all it did was provide you with a system to help you get a passive income safely and simply? Would it be worth $1,000 to you? What about if all it did was provide you with confidence and clarity to get the results that you've dreamed of? Would it be worth $1,000 to you? And lastly, if all it did was help you get paid while you sleep, would it be worth $1,000 to you? Now, I've got some good news for you. A program like this would normally go to the market at $997. We're not going to charge $997. We've been told that we're absolutely crazy because we should be charging at least $297. But we are not going to even charge $297. And the reason being is that our purpose is to help you invest like the top 1%. I remind you of all the things that you're going to get, including all the bonuses, is worth over $2,291. But tonight, for those people that take action, you get access to our Payday Accelerator at $97. All that you need to do, and if you wouldn't mind, Kelly, just dropping the link in the chat box for everyone, all that you need to do is literally go to the Payday Accelerator and click on this link, 30daypassiveincomechallenge.com. And when you see it here, it'll literally come up. You can go and you can watch a little video about it. You can see how we onboard people in terms of the process. You can go read all about it. And if you're interested, you go and fill in your details here. I'll put in my email. And I go join the Passive Income Challenge. And then my payment info comes up and it literally costs me $97. I can apply online and I literally get access to the process. Now, that is what the Payday Accelerator is about. And the best part is we actually guarantee results. As long as you follow the steps for the next 4 weeks in terms of the process, we will get you signed up on the process and we run it on a monthly basis. And at the end of the month, if you're not getting the results, we will give you your money back. It's a result-based guarantee as long as you do what you say you are going to do. And I want to throw in one extra bonus for you. It's what I call a fast action bonus. I found that the people that we work with are the ones that get the most results. And so I built a course about 3 years ago on the 4-step wealth formula, and it's a home study course. Within 60 minutes or less, we will show you how to take your wealth plan and move from the employee to the self-employed quadrant to freedom and the investor quadrant as quickly, simply, and safely, and as predictably as possible, without being trapped by the financial industry, scammed, or giving away your power to someone else, and without adding additional stress and hassle in your life. I will literally give you a home study course that will teach you how to use the Freedom Calculator, how to use the wealth plan, and most importantly, set yourself up for success. But this bonus, welcome. Someone has just joined the Payday Accelerator, so well done to you. You're definitely going to have a payday, and the whole idea is set you up for paydays for the rest of your life. The value of this home study course is $997. This is what it literally retailed at on its own. I'm going to throw this in. I'm going to be upgrading this course, and you're going to get invited. The first people that get involved in this fast action are going to get invited to join me. There's another person who's joined the Payday. You're going to get invited. If you join the Payday, you're literally going to get everything that I've spoken about tonight for $97. Let me, of all the things, Kelly, wouldn't you mind just switching that off? Well done to everyone that's joining. It's incredible in terms of the process. Let me remind you of everything you're going to get for $97. You're going to get the Passive Income Challenge, which is going to literally teach you and give you passive income. You're going to get a discovery call with a wealth coach that'll get you very clear on your next steps. You're going to get access to the Global Wealth University and community, which is knowledge. You're going to get coaching and accountability week on week for 4 weeks, which is the best way. You've got 400% better chance of getting results. You're going to get peace of mind, which is all about freedom. You're going to get smart investing, which is all about the system. And as a bonus, you're literally going to get the freedom calculator, which is going to give you access to clarity. You're going to get the wealth plan, which will give you direction. You're going to get the wealth roadmap, which will give you hope. And finally, you're going to get the return on investment calculator. You put all of that together, it's worth $2,291. And if you chuck in the fast action bonus, which is the home study course, which is going to give you insight of how it all comes together, the total value of everything I'm giving you tonight is $3,288. And you can literally get all of that for $97. All you have to do is go to the link, literally the link that's in the chat box, or go to this. So to get the Payday Accelerator, you literally go to this link here, 30daypassiveinkomechallenge.com. And as Kelly's put it in there kindly in the chat box, it literally takes you through here. You can go down to the bottom and you can join the Passive Income Challenge. And that gives you access to everything that I'm mentioning tonight in the Payday Accelerator. The way I see it, you've got two options. You can use the excuses that I've seen in 178 countries. I don't have the money. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the time. Or you can stay stuck in the passive income traps that I've shown you. And my belief system is that you'll probably end up at the end of the year like this gentleman, with your head in your laptop, with frustration and with anxiety that another year has gone past and you haven't got the results that you want. You've set another New Year's resolution and yet you haven't achieved it. Your second option is that you change your mindset and you go out there and you get what you want. You get the passive income. You get the knowledge you want through partnership. I've literally shown you how you can achieve it with a $97 investment in yourself. You get the time that you want. Imagine if you were earning money while you sleep and you were earning a passive income, and how you were given back your time and you get the freedom that you want. And my belief system, at the end of this year, is that when one looked at a family, they'd have the peace of mind. They knew they would have a plan B. They knew they would have the freedom. They knew that they were starting to create the generational wealth. And this is what I want for all of you. And so make it happen. Go along to Payday Accelerator. The link is the 30daypassiveinkomechallenge.com, and you can literally get everything we've spoken about tonight. Do you know, 10 years ago, there was a gentleman called Michael Honeysett, and he sat in a room just like you. He was skeptical. It's very normal to be skeptical. He wasn't sure. He came along and he met me in person, and he then came on a buyer's trip. And 10 years later, he said to me, I just want my daughters to be able to live overseas, to be able to study overseas, to be able to work overseas. He started investing overseas. 10 years later, his daughters have studied in England. His daughters live in England and are working in England. And he has achieved his objective. And he literally said to me, Scott, when I joined, it was the best money I ever spent. And the second thing he said, it would never have happened if I'd tried to do it myself. The most important thing that happened to Michael is he paid. And when people pay attention, they get the best results. And that is why we not only want you to pay, because when you pay attention, but ultimately, we want you to get paid. I asked you earlier, what do you want more of? Do you want more time? Do you want more freedom? Do you want more money? Whatever it is. And what we have determined tonight is that the way to get there is to get passive income. That is the answer. And it is all about getting paid. You need to get access to the right partners, access to the right deals, the right information, and diversification. And this is how you get paid and ultimately get a diversified passive income of $1,000 or more as soon as possible. So, as we learn from the game of Monopoly, you can keep going left and buying greenhouses and thinking like a mom and pop or a retail investor, or you can go right and start to invest in commercial property and start to invest like the top 1% and to invest alongside the top 1%. Because our belief system is that this can be your get out of jail free card. Whatever your jail is, all you need to do is go to the Payday Accelerator, go to this link, the 30-day passiveincomechallenge.com. Kelly's kindly put it in the chat box. You can literally click on it, or if you're watching the recording, just go to the link, 30-day passiveincomechallenge.com, put it in your browser, and it'll come up for you. And if you want to see what so many other people have said, go along to Trustpilot. Go and read what all the other people, hundreds and thousands of people, and their experience of going through our home study courses, experiencing what we do, both videos and testimonials, that they have gone out and they have got results. We are so sure of the process. We've made it so simple, 4 simple steps, and that is why we can guarantee our results within 30 days to get you a result. Now, for the left brain people out there, if you're using this return on investment calculator, when you get started with the $97 Payday Accelerator, and if you invest just $100 a month, it'll be worth $4,800 to you in 10 years and $74,000 to you in 30 years. How many of you would invest $97 in yourself to know that in 10 years, it was going to be equal to $4,800 for you and your family. And over 30 years, it was going to be worth $74,000. This is why it is so important for you to invest in yourself and to join the Payday Accelerator. It is time for you to get paid. And as Nelson Mandela said, money won't create success. The freedom to make it will. And so I want to take and run through some questions in terms of what people have put in. Again, if you want to join the Payday Pioneers, and what is a pioneer? It's someone who goes out there and takes control of their life. You literally go to the 30-day passiveincomechallenge.com. And I remind you what you'll get if you join the Payday Accelerator. You literally get the Passive Income Challenge, which is all about passive income and getting the result of passive income. The Discovery Call, which is helps you with your next steps. Wealth University, which is all about your knowledge and partners. And your 4 weeks coaching and accountability, which is all about results. Once you've done that, the bonus is the Freedom Calculator, which gives you clarity. The Wealth Plan, which gives you direction. The Wealth Roadmap, which gives you hope. And the Return on Investment Calculator, which gives you confidence. And as a fast action bonus, you're also going to get the home study course where you can use all of those tools, and that gives you insights. So if you've got any questions, just type them in the chat box. I'll literally go through the questions now. Some things that are pretty important. A question I get asked, I'm really busy and time poor. How much time will this require? Less than 1 hour a week for 4 weeks. No more than 4 hours in total. And I always say to someone, if you were to invest that amount of time in yourself and you were to get paid while you sleep, what an impact would that make on your life? I'm not sure if I qualify for this. I do have investments, but I'm not a sophisticated investor. What should I do? Look, we've had people invest millions of dollars, and we've also had people get started from $10. The average investment per investor is $25. It's a little bit short less than that. It's $23,500 in terms of that process. We've built the Payday Accelerator to help people get started. Whether you are sophisticated in one country, but you want to start earning a passive income in another country, or if you've never earned a passive income, either way, we have made this simple so that you can get results. Just dip your toe, get started, and start getting those results. Why should I invest this money in the Payday Bundle and not just in an investment? Well, this one is fascinating because how often in your life have you done things on your own or committed to something and actually not got a result? The whole thing with the Payday Accelerator is that we come together, we know what you need. We've done this statistically for hundreds and thousands of people. We know that the coaching and the accountability is as important. We know that the knowledge in the Wealth University is as important. And what we found is that in a structured way, within 4 weeks, we can help you get a result. Is this South African focused? No, it's not. Our head office is out of England. Our regulation is out of England. Our wallet infrastructure is out of Europe. We invest in America, in England, in Europe, in Australia. And so, I have a South African accent. I'm a global citizen. I just choose to live here, but it is a global focus for global citizens. Why should I join the Payday Accelerator versus doing it on my own? Well, again, I think I've already answered this, but I'll give you some stats which are really interesting. If you try and do something on your own, according to Deepak Chopra, you've got a less than 50% chance of succeeding. If you do it with a husband, a wife, a business partner, you've got a 60% chance of succeeding. If you do it with a like-minded group of people, you've got a higher than 70% chance of succeeding. How important are your results to you to getting results? I really need accountability. Will you hold me accountable? Yes. For 4 weeks in a row, we will hold you accountable. We've got a wealth coach that will hold you accountable. And we've got a community that motivates and gets people going to be able to help you get results in terms of that process and be accountable. I always joke, whether it's the carrot or the stick, we use both to help you get results. What is the minimum investment? It's $10. So on our platform, the minimum investment is $10. Do you have a payment plan? No. Anyone that, my father taught me, where there's a will, there's a way. If you truly have a will, you can find a way to make a $97 investment. We do actually have an affiliate program. If you help 3 other people join, then you can join for free. But wherever there's a will, there's a way. And then lastly, are there any other questions? Is there anything else that I can help anyone else with? So I remind you again, in terms of the Payday Accelerator, all you got to do is go to this link, the 30daypassiveincomechallenge.com. Become a pioneer. Go out there, take control of your life, start to get the results that you want, and to get paid while you sleep. This is everything that you're going to get for $97. Passive income, clarity on the next steps, knowledge and partners, results, clarity on your financial future, direction, hope, confidence, and insight. And I leave you with a final comment. There's an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Thank you very much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. It's always an honor and privilege to share my life lessons in terms of what I've been through. I've shared the passive income traps with you. I've got a more advanced program where I go into even more detail around the passive income traps. But no matter what stage you're at, whether you're beginner, intermediate, sophisticated, or advanced, each and every one of you needs to get started. And that is why we created the Payday Accelerator, to help you get results, get started, get momentum, and the rest, we will help you along that journey. Kelly, thank you very much for all your time tonight and for all your support. I deeply appreciate it. To anyone else, are there any questions or anything else I can help with? Because I honor and value your time. It's a privilege for me to share these lessons and to share with you, most importantly, the solutions. Because I want you to accelerate your way to be able to getting that payday. Make every day a payday, and let's show you how you can get paid while you sleep. Perfect. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you for your time. We'll see you next time. And most importantly, if you don't get paid while you sleep tonight, then do me a favor. Do something different. Join the Payday Accelerator. Take control of your life. And I look forward to your results. Cheers.